This is the Ninja's Way podcast, where we talk all things ninja industry, ranging from top tier athletes to the local ninja entrepreneur. Listen to their journey to success as they conquer obstacles in ninja and in life. This is the Ninja's Way. Welcome to the Ninja's Way podcast and the Ninja Network Facebook group. We are here with Jared today from Warped Wallys. He is a ninja dad, an entrepreneur, and so we're going to hop in and talk a little bit about his story. Let's start with this. What inspired you to start Warped Wallys? What is it? And how did you come up with this idea of combining pop culture with ninja culture?
Yeah, it was one of those things where I got introduced to the sport through my daughter, who we're Canadians who moved back from Ireland in 2022. She had done gymnastics over there. We went to the opening of a ninja gym in our city of Calgary, and it was love at first sight for her. It was her creative outlet. She took to the sport right away. Next thing we knew, we were in the competitions and watching her progress and loving the sport. I started becoming a ninja dad. I enjoyed it a lot more than being a gymnastics dad. I just thought it was such a cool sport. And I just, through osmosis of being around the gym with the other ninja parents, got this sense of, A, these kids are amazing athletes, but you could see the culture that was just bubbling there, like the terms they use and the way they support each other and these foreign or these like exotic words like lâcher that I needed to know more about, and learning that that's French for let go and all these little things. But at the same time, I'm an advertising person. My full-time job would be creative director at different agencies, Calgary, Vancouver, Dublin, back to Calgary. And so I've always got like this part of my brain that wants to create things. So I was inspired by the fact that there's these really cool shirts. Ninjas love to rep each other, and they love to look up to some of their heroes that have maybe been on American Ninja Warrior or are doing really well in WNL or NSC. And I thought that's really cool that they support each other. At the same time, I think I'm one of those kids who grew up admiring certain skateboard brands and how they riffed off pop culture. Thought Warped Wallys and the sport of ninja would maybe fill a void in that sport, where it's like a little bit more of a lifestyle brand, not wanting to get in the way, obviously, of the personal branding that ninjas do. I love how organic and supportive that is. But I wanted to almost bring in a little bit of that remixing pop culture and leaning into references, and also just like taking some of the expressions and putting them on apparel. So that's how it started. There was no grand master plan for it at all. My business plan was probably more back of a napkin. I think I looked into the fact that print on demand in terms of making shirts was a lot easier to do now, where you didn't have to print and guess at inventory. You could just jump in and get a Shopify store going. So it's not a lot of barriers to entry to get some of these design ideas onto things. And the next thing I knew, I was like, oh, let's call it Warped Wallys. The Warped Wall is a famous obstacle. And I love the way that Warped Wallys felt like a bit of a shady kind of used car salesman vibe to it. So
Yeah.
that's the shortest version of the story that I could probably tell.
No, that's super cool. And that was my next question of what parts of ninja culture are you looking to bring out? You talked a lot about these phrases of lâcher and link, and some of these people, like some ninja parents, don't even know what some of those words mean. So what parts of ninja culture are you really trying to highlight?
I think it's like the way they all push each other to do better and to one up each other. I think there's a nice parallel between what I've seen in some of the adventure sports like snowboarding, where I feel like competitors, if they outdo each other in a big air, they're like hats off to the competitor. It's like they celebrate each other's accomplishments. And I see that in ninja as well. So I think that I love that there was some expressions there, that desire to be someone who links. I see it in my daughter because she's in the younger age group. And I think the moment they start to link things together, it's like they're graduating. It's like they've unlocked a new part of the sport. So I do have a lot of designs that are almost about a bit of the ethos around linking. So it's less thinking, more linking is one of our most popular designs. Or one of the guys on our Warped Wallys team, a young ninja named Easton in the States, he goes by the slogan, link or get left behind. And then that translated into things like Abraham Lincoln, creating an Abraham Lincoln shirt. I definitely lean on those terms as much as I can, but it is that kind of that I guess I'm trying to appeal more to the ninjas and the parents and the families who maybe know a little bit more about the sport. This isn't like the entry level necessarily. It's like people who know a little bit of the inside terminology. I think there's a lot of shirts out there that say eat, sleep, ninja, repeat, those sort of things that feel a little more common out there. I wanted to push it a little further to either reflect the things you hear in the gym or riff off popular culture, lean into those sort of things and create my own point of view and my own voice amongst all the ninja shirts and brands that might be out there.
Yeah, and I love that. I think that you've infused a lot of humor to it. And I also like the fact that you gotta be on the in to know. When you're a true ninja, if you see that shirt and you resonate with it right away, you're like, oh yeah, we know what that's all about. So I think that's super cool.
There's a secret handshake sort of thing that's going on in the sport. And I think with all sports too, where I there's a couple. I love the fact that every none of these kids in Ninja or I say kids because my daughter's in it, but none of the ninjas will ever be hand models. And I love that there's pride in the fact that they have these like battle scars and their hands are just mangled. My daughter's hands do not look like the hands of any other 8-year-old.
Oh yeah.
And so I play off that with things like that, where
I love that.
where you take just the emoji of the praise hands and you just put a little kind of Warped Wallies mix on it. Or we recently did a playlist for ninjas, pump up songs and songs they can put to their tricks, and we called the album the Tortured Hands Department, borrowing from a certain Taylor Swift on that one.
Yeah, I love
Yeah,
that.
you're
That
right. It is a little
that's
bit of inside baseball when it comes to the kind of cultural pulls that we like to have.
yeah, we would call that our ninja initiation. When you get your first ribs, that's when you know you're a true ninja. It's,
Yeah.
"Oh, coach, my hands hurt." It's, "Oh, that's the point."
Yeah, you've made it. You've made it.
Yeah,
Yeah. You did it
totally.
right.
So, what ways is your daughter involved, or your daughters, right? You have 2. How are they involved in the business, and is this kinda teaching them a little entrepreneur skills at a young age?
Yeah, I didn't want to force them into the little kind of side business that I have going, but I noticed they took an interest right away. And it definitely, I got Hazel's my 5-year-old and Riley's my 8-year-old. And I think Hazel's going to follow her sister's path into the sport. Some of the ways they get involved right away are just like helping me out put sticker packs together. Sometimes like we put on some music and we just go, we needed 170 sticker packs to put in the swag bags of the Canadian national championships that just happened. So they helped me get through that task and I paid them. I might have been a below minimum wage, but we don't need to talk about that. And it's
Amen.
Slurpee money for them, so they were happy. Uh,
There.
and then they've started to throw little shirt ideas my way, which is really cute. And there's some good ones in there. So I feel like I'm maybe hopefully developing the creative side of their brain. I think they love the pride of like my daughter likes wearing this stuff in competition and at the gym, and they always have ideas for the business. They also like my oldest we're starting to set up kiosks at certain competitions and just sell some of our inventory there, some limited edition stuff. And she's learning how to work a little tap terminal and stuff like that. And I think it's important for kids to understand entrepreneurship at an early age and the value of money and the value of hard work. And I think it's a nice way to initiate that. I'd love to be able to hand this off to them one day and be like, here it is, girls. It's over to you. Like, I'm not in touch with the sport anymore. So you need to carry it on for me.
That's super cool. With the perspective of being a ninja parent, why don't you walk us through the process of how you design products, how you come up with ideas? What does that look like?
Yeah, I think as a ninja parent, it just gave me the ability to I was hanging around the gyms all the time, just like every other ninja parent. You're there talking with other ninja parents. You're watching what the kids are doing. You're sometimes helping reset things. And I think that was if I hadn't been there and exposed to the sport. And I think what I like about being a ninja parent, and I hope it's common with all gyms, but for our gym, we're right in the mix. We're not sequestered off to the side like gymnastics parents are. We're like helping out where we can. They always love an extra set of hands. And you get to know the coaches, the kids, the other parents really. So when I started getting ideas for the shirts, I started bouncing them off some of the teenage ninjas and saying, "Hey, what do you think of these designs?" And I realized which ones were winners, which ones weren't, which ones were maybe references that they didn't understand, but maybe their parents did. Like I've got references to Nine Inch Nails, and I don't think kids necessarily know who Nine Inch Nails are. I've got "Can I Link It" instead of "Can I Kick It" by Tribe Called Quest. So I'm
Mhm.
pulling from the 90s and the early 2000s sometimes. And I like using those ninjas that are around the gym as a sounding board. Or nowadays, I just put stuff onto Instagram if I'm thinking of doing it. And I get really good feedback right away from the wider ninja community. If I stuck a design out there and I go, should I make it a sticker or a shirt or both? And I get a lot of, and maybe I sometimes put polls up and the fourth thing will say, I don't get it. And it's usually that is the case sometimes too, but maybe their parents need to explain what the reference is. Not every kid knows who Abraham Lincoln is at a young age either. So it's those sort of things.
Yeah, no, I think there's some really cool insights there and just being able to leverage social media. The power and the access to the internet will really give you some access to be able to pull different things and find out feedback rather quickly. As well as having conversations. I liked targeting ninja teens because they would probably have a pretty good grasp on what's going on.
It's probably a unique challenge for a brand, for an apparel brand like this to appeal to 7-year-olds and 17-year-olds at the same time.
Mm,
7-year-olds sometimes are still into unicorn and,
sure.
you know, whereas a 17-year-old is probably wearing Supreme or Vans, certain brands that are more age appropriate for them. So it is a really good challenge to try to make some shirts that are for maybe the younger ninjas and some shirts that are for the older ninjas and maybe some magical shirts that appeal to both, what we're going for.
Based off of your experience as a ninja parent, what advice would you give other ninja parents just about the sport of ninja?
That's a good question. I think I still consider myself relatively new. I'm starting to identify some of my own like mistakes along the way. But I'll start with the advice. I think it's like always offer when you're watching practices. I think you can get involved. The coaches love when an extra set of hands are there. We're not the ones who are going to teach technique. We're not the ones that are going to tell you how you can improve the power of your lâché, but it's sometimes that it's like we can help reset equipment or be on the stopwatch, time things, those sort of things. That's such a big help to them. And it helps you get to know the other kids as well. And you're not sitting on the bleachers on the side anymore. So I'd say just try to get involved. I love like having conversation. I think it's just like the time I get spent with my daughter, just driving to practice and we sometimes we'll put on a ninja podcast and we'll just talk about the sport. I think when we're going to the gym, we're in that mindset of going to ninja. She's always excited and we just talk about maybe what she wants to accomplish. And so I think it's just use it as a chance to get to know your kid even more. Nothing gets her talking and excited like ninja. She won't talk about school. She won't really tell me what's going on there, but she'll tell me exactly why it was super impressive that she learned a coffin lâché.
And it's such a cool opportunity to be able to further connect with your kid. And all types of sports can do that, but it's awesome that she got so excited about ninja. You guys have an awesome, growing, vibrant ninja community in Canada. I actually have a little bit of experience with that. I moved to Canada for a year and we launched multiple ninja gyms. So we introduced 6 ninja gyms to the ninja community while we
Mhm.
were up there. Uh,
Awesome.
just our time spent was there's just such an awesome, vibrant community up there. You spoke a little bit about the national championships that just happened. How did that go? And any cool experiences that came out of that?
Yeah, I love to talk about Canada because we always compare ourselves to the States and it's like we know that we have like probably 1/10 of the gyms, maybe less than
Sure.
America. So I love that. I feel as a country we punch above our weight. I find it very interesting to see on a global scale. It's like US, Canada, Israel's got a thing going on, Australia, parts of Europe, obviously Japan being the origins, but it's cool to see where it's kicking off. And I feel like Canada is just going from strength to strength while
Yes.
still having this. We're not part of the American competitive ecosystem yet, but we're getting better at it. I think we're sending more of our athletes down to compete in some of the big events down there. And a girl on our team, Nora Brownjohn, she did so well this year and won the NST title for pro women. So
Oh, cool.
I think Canadians, like a lot of them have like sneaky little basement setups too. Like
Yeah.
we have big basements in Canada and in the winter months when it's like, it's a cold snap settles in, the kids are down there practicing nonstop, like with it's our only option. And I
Oh,
think
yeah.
there's a really good thing happening it's spread across the country in a strange way. I think you got some British Columbia, Alberta ninja gyms, then not a lot happening in the prairies and the Quebec's getting better all the time. They're really impressive. Like a couple gyms there that are really like going to turn some heads at UNAA and Ontario's always been the strongest part. And I think it's really cool to see like the West Coast is more like flowy parkour style ninja. Then Ontario's maybe a bit more technical. They're really good with the challenge courses and burnouts. And Quebec has a certain flair to their style. So I love seeing like the regional differences. It's probably the same in the States. I'm not as well versed, but
Yeah. Well, there's definitely, I said this when I was up there multiple times that the soil is ripe for ninja in Canada just because there is so much time where you guys might not have access to other sports just due to the weather. When we lived in British Columbia, like right outside of Vancouver,
yeah,
and it rained every single day. And I'm personally from New Mexico, so I'm from the desert, and that was
yeah,
just like a whole different world to me. But it was like the ninja gym's still the safe haven. You can still go there,
yeah.
you can still practice, whether it's raining or shining. So I definitely think that there's a lot more growth to happen in Canada, and I'm excited to see that community grow.
Yeah, and just another point on like with the championships, like Sudbury hosted this year, which is a really kind of small market, but a real passionate ninja gym headed up by Coach Pat, and he feels to me like the unofficial mayor of Sudbury, where everyone just rallies behind his enthusiasm. And they hosted an amazing kind of smaller scale national championships this year. So it was only the top 10 in each age category. So it was best on best. And man, the volunteer spirit was amazing there. And just the way the whole town pulled behind, I think, feel like every local business sponsored an obstacle. So it was really cool to see that side of the sport where maybe not the glitz and glamour of big name sponsors or anything like that, but it was just like really pulled together by passionate group of volunteers and a nice leadership committee and the Canadian Ninja League pulled together. And it was really fun seeing like all the ninja athletes from different provinces become friends by the end of it too. I think we always pull for each other when we see Canadian ninjas start to break through in the States. It gets us excited as a country.
How does Warped Wallies contribute to the ninja community, maybe outside of merchandise?
Yeah, there's a couple ways we do that. We're getting more requests right now to sponsor competitions, which is really fun. Like a lot of the time, we'll put together a little sticker pack and make it part of the swag bags,
Cool.
provide prizes. Kids love getting that sort of stuff. And so that's the first way that we get involved is through sponsorship. We started a team as well. So we have Team Warped Wallys, and we have 3 athletes on that where we help provide a collaborative design with them. We create that shirt or piece of apparel that they sell in our store, and 100% of the profits from the sales of their shirts go right back to the ninja. So I would encourage people, if they're on the site, you can go straight to the team collab section and support some great ninjas by buying their shirts. It's a good way for them to get a little exposure. And that's another way we want to give back. We want to grow the team slowly. I don't think we want to make it huge just because it is a side project. And so there's the main Warped Wally's business, and then there's the team side of it. And it's just hard finding time to run those 2 streams at the same time. But it's nice to have some athletes that we really believe in and support. And they're also really good at giving us feedback into what we should put out next and the kind of designs we should create.
Yeah, absolutely. And that was gonna be one of my next questions was, have you guys done any collaborative designs? I know for me personally, from a gym owner perspective, every single year we're designing a new t-shirt for the Ninja
Yeah.
League team to send them to Worlds on. So have you ever thought about doing design for gyms or anything like that?
Yeah, it's a place we'd like to move into. And I do it right now for FitSet, which is our home gym. It's in Calgary and Edmonton. And we're sending a WNL team. So we did a shirt for them, which was really fun. And it is, yeah, it's definitely, I think collaborating with the gyms is something that it's one of those conversations that's tricky because you don't just want to say, hey, can we put some of our Warped Wally stuff in your gym for sale? And meanwhile, the gym has some really cool merch of their own, and now they've got competition within their own walls. But I think we can sometimes offering sticker packs, for example, doesn't clash with what they're offering with their own merch sales. But I think it's one of those things where anytime I get to know some of the gym operators and gym owners, I do like to hint at doing a collaboration thing. Just right now, it's just with FitSet, but I am starting to get to know some of the other gyms. And yeah, it's one of those things is like, I don't want to cannibalize your sales at all of your own merch, but I do probably, if we were to work together, I feel like we could hatch something that's maybe just a little more creative or a little more fun or just something different. I think it might not be their area of expertise on how to make merch. And sometimes a collaborative approach is a good way to break out of your own thought process.
Yeah, absolutely. I know for me personally, I'm always like, okay, I gotta go to Fiverr and find a designer. And I'm a creative person, but I'm not going to be the person to actually design the shirt. So
Yeah.
having something like that, at least from my perspective, is, oh, I know who I'm hitting up next time. So
Yeah, exactly. And I think it just pays to know to have someone who knows the sport. Even though I'm not a competing ninja yet, It's one of those things where it's just knowing a little bit about it is really it's an advantage. And I think there are some really good designers out there on Fiverr and beyond. And I know some gyms have probably had a lot of success making some really good logos or designs. But yeah, I think I'm just one other outlet out there that can help just maybe freshen up the apparel and the designs that gyms are looking for.
Sure. You said that you're not yet. Is that an aspiration of yours to compete ninja?
Hey, I keep threatening it, but I have these like soft city boy hands that I need to toughen up and I need to get in better shape. But I would love to, even just to know more about the sport by experiencing it, even if it's, God, I do not want to go into competition because I might just embarrass myself in front of it. Just like to take some like rec classes would be fun. But yeah, it's one of those things that when I look at the sport as a ninja parent and as someone who was like an 80s kid, I'm like, God, I wish the sport was around when I was young because I was a bit of a playground daredevil and I feel like I would have been good at it. And I was just like, I'm jealous that these kids are exposed to such a cool sport that brings together rock climbing, parkour, playground heroics, gymnastics all into one
Yeah,
place.
that's super cool. Do you have a personal favorite of your collection? And if you do have a favorite, why is that your favorite?
Oh, it's a tough question. It has shifted around a bit. I liked taking, we took a little bit of inspiration from Nike and turned the swoosh into a cane. Yeah. And just kind of turned it 90 degrees here.
Yep.
Uh,
Got
so
the
that's inspired by how the old snowboard and skateboard companies would like riff off existing labels. I also like for this ninja in Canada, the Canadian champion last year, taking the Fighting Irish
nice.
and creating an O'Brien ninja identity for him. So I am a copywriter in advertising, so I'm a word guy.
Mm,
And I think just seeing how much less thinking, more linking has resonated as like a belief system for these kids.
yeah, totally.
I'm really proud of that one. And I think we put it on a shirt and it became one of the top sellers. And so I think sometimes it's like maybe just trying to think the mantras and the beliefs are there in the gym. You just sometimes take someone to craft the wording a little bit more.
Yeah, absolutely.
In that
So
case, just making it rhyme with something.
sure,
Yeah.
yeah. And making it catchy, and I think that also kind of strikes at the heart of when you overthink things or you overthink obstacles, you're hesitating or you're falling pretty quickly. And so that whole kind of mantra of, hey, just don't overthink it, throw it, just link it.
Yeah,
There
and
with
like
that.
it's so fun watching the ninjas that just seem like they're on autopilot, and it's just like this natural response to. We have a shirt that says "flow state" as well, and I did not invent the term flow state as a concept when it comes to the creative process, but I do think the very best ninjas get into this flow state
Mm,
where they're not really thinking of it and they're just letting all the training express itself and just like letting it go. And so yeah, like that. I do have this belief in like, and when the sport is done at its highest level, it just looks so beautiful to watch and the way things get flowed and linked together. Saw a lot of that at nationals. It was like just how amazingly fluid it can look when it's done.
that's funny when you were talking about that. It brought up this. I asked the question of, what do you think about this next generation of ninjas? And I had somebody tell me on the podcast, they were like, oh, these kids just, they don't think about it. It's just natural to them. They just react. It's
Yeah.
not, it's like a second language to their brain. They don't have to think about it too much. So if you could wave a wand and solve one problem in the ninja industry today, what would it be?
I think I don't know if it's necessarily a problem. Maybe it's a bit more of a challenge in Canada.
Hmm,
You guys have this great system there where there's like tier one and tier two competitions.
sure.
I see a lot of kids that are entering the sport and they're pretty good at it, but then they get into a competition and they see kids who have actually been working hard at it for 2 or 3 years.
Yeah.
And I think they maybe feel a little bit defeated by why am I not as good as some phenom that's out there?
Sure.
So I think the thing that I would want to fix is just getting more gyms to do more fun comps. I don't think every kid needs to go into the competitive stream, but I do like the idea of them coming in a way where they can build up their confidence within competitions. Maybe kick the really good kids out of it completely and just let the newbies go in and find their feet in the sport. I think that's something that I would want to see a little more of, maybe up in Canada. I think because we're a smaller scale competitive arm of the sport and a smaller country, our competitions, we maybe don't have the resources to put on that entry level tier of competitions. We're getting better at it. There's a couple things popping up where it's really all about the fun side. It's a competition, but the importance is on the fun side of it. And so it's just making sure that And it goes back to my own story of like when I was younger trying to learn guitar in junior high with my friends, and feel real proud of a little rip Nirvana song that I figured out.
Sure.
I played for my friends, and then they would show me how they can shred a much harder song.
Mhm.
And then I just feel like I'm gonna go hide over there, guys. And
Sure.
I think it's just like having that bit of a safe space for the up and coming ninjas that to yeah get the confidence and within the competitive environment without feeling like they're going up against the very best.
Yeah, and I think that's a really good insight for gym owners to make sure that you have fun run opportunities for these kids who they're not at the elite level, but they want to at least try. And just like you said, providing that safe space, I think, is a really good insight for any gym owner who's listening. So appreciate that.
Yeah, and I love seeing how like the tier two competitors can graduate into tier one and then be really strong in tier one as well. And there's different paths of progression and development with ninjas and with kids in any sport. And it's just making room for someone who might not, it might be a bit of a late bloomer in terms of their skills.
Sure, absolutely. So, how can people get in touch with you?
Yeah, like I think the best place is Instagram at Warped Wallys. If you take out the apostrophe, just at Warped Wallys is probably our most active channel. WarpedWallys.com is our shop where you can see right now we do have some of that Father's Day stuff up at the top. So we have some designs for dad. They might not get there in time for Father's Day now. We have just with the platform that we have, we don't have the overnight shipping that like Amazon would have, for example. But I know you can always get dad a gift card. So yeah, it's like hitting us up on our website or Instagram. We are on Facebook as well, but not as much activity as we'd have on Instagram. And if anyone needs to reach out, it's Wally at warpedwallys.com. Even though my name's Jared, I do answer to Wally as well when needed. Yeah, so those are the places. And thanks for the plug. We're trying to make more merch for ninja parents because I think it's fair to say that as proud as the kids are of their accomplishments, I think the parents are even more proud and they love to wear that badge. I think it's like we like to separate ourselves from the dance moms and the gymnastics dads and the hockey dad. But I think there's a real sense of community in the fact that we're all in a niche sport relative to those bigger sports. And I think there's a real pride and camaraderie within that.
Yeah, absolutely. I know I got my own collection. I try every time I go to a new gym, I try to catch my ninja shirt. I know I got my Warped Wally shirt coming. I'm so
Yeah.
excited to get it. So appreciate that as well. So, a last question, we'll end with this. Where do you see the future of Warped Wallies? Like, where would you like to see your guys' selves in the next 5 years or so?
Yeah, sometimes I allow myself to think that far out and it's exciting. I think as my girls get older, I'd like to start having them get involved with like design ideas and just like promoting the shirts and I'd like to grow the team a little bit more from like our current 3 ninjas to a few more. I want to keep it tight and small and make sure that our ninjas have that same personality and belief and spirit that we do as a company. So I'd like to be able to, if any competition came by and said, can you sponsor us? I want to be able to be in a position where it's like just a no brainer. Of course, what do you need? And
Yeah.
right now, at the startup business, we're not in that position yet. We're just like getting things figured out, fine tuning the website, making sure that we're selling enough shirts to keep it alive and stuff. But I'd love to get to a place where it's a little more on autopilot, where we can just sponsor a lot of things, make sure that our shirts are showing up at some of the bigger competitions, and then just keep doing more collaborations, whether it's with gyms or with other athletes or maybe with other ninja brands out there. Like I've always been a big fan of some of the obstacle builders, and the bucketed chalk guys are awesome too. So there's those brands that I admire. And yeah, I think and just keep putting more designs on the website and creating some more things that get ninjas excited. I also think like just carrying on the tradition of trying to tap into memes as well. Like
Yeah.
we did these fake Valentine's cards for ninjas. We did the playlist,
I
like the
love the
Twitch
Valentine's Day cards. Thought they were so good.
Yeah, pressure's on for year two. I feel like we have to come up with more cheesy Valentine's lines.
Yeah.
It'd be nice to actually make them into real Valentines as well. That would
Cool
be
to
cool. And
sell
just,
like a full package. I know, like me as a gym owner, I would totally buy a pack just to give out to our whole kids. So it'd be cool to get like,
yeah,
full packages that they could give to their students.
yeah. I'm gonna take that note down and try and deliver for next year. But I think it's yeah, getting beyond maybe the mindset of just like shirts and apparel and just really reflecting and celebrating and remixing ninja culture as much as possible in different ways. I think like thinking about making a playlist or thinking about making Valentine's card. do it. We did a Warped Wall challenge where we asked the ninjas to send us videos of like them doing amazing stuff, like just getting higher and higher on Warped Walls. And I think those little competitions are really fun. And I think we don't just want to be like sell. I think it's more about just like smoothly integrating into the culture and the community that's already there and just being a part of it, not in a corporate way or anything, but just really making. I think like ninjas just want to feel seen. They want to feel seen all the time, and they want. I don't think Nike or Under Armour is able to do that. I don't think there's any of those bigger sports and apparel brands that care that much about sport right now. Hopefully that changes, but I feel like there's a nice. I get a lot of nice feedback from ninjas and parents going, "Oh, it's cool that the it feels like someone gets the sport."
Yeah, I absolutely think that you guys are being an amazing creative representation of what ninja culture has created. So, Jared, thank you so much for sharing your insights with us today and telling us a little bit about Warped Wallies. I will make sure that you guys can check out their website. I will link all of those things in the description of this video. But thanks so much for coming on today and really appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thanks so much for your time, Allie.